Now, what you all want to get is the program called ScriptHook by Aru. Um, I wanted to mention that before I mentioned that program I was just talking about a few seconds ago. ScriptHook by Aru is what's needed for every mod. The link is in the description. It's called ScriptHook.51. So you're gonna guys want to click that, download it. It's a DLL file that says scripthook.dll. You're going to go ahead and drag it right into your main directory. Scripthook.dll right there. Okay. Now you guys should have scripthook.dll and dsound.dll. Those are the two huge contributors, and also D3, D9, which is ENB series and all of its settings files and image files that make your game look pretty. Now that you have that, now I believe I can go ahead and start on X360CE. Now what this program is it's by a guy called Toka Edit, and X360CE basically what it does is, as I explained, once again, I'll explain again, it emulates any controllers like a 360 controller. So once you have X360C here, you want to just pop it open. Okay? It may give you guys an error saying the settings file is not found or the configuration file does not match. This is assuming you have this file, x360ce.ini. If not, hit yes to create it. Hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. There you go. So now I have two controllers here. I have my Xbox 360 wireless for Windows controller, and I have my normal wheel. Okay? Guys, there's a serious disclaimer I want to put here, and you guys have to pay attention. Make sure when you're in Grand Theft Auto 4, you disable direct input. Make sure you disable the direct input because ever since patch 1.0.7.0, direct input takes over your wheel. It really fucks up a lot of things. Take off direct input. Okay, take it off. But when you do that, what's going to happen is some of you may have a controller, and if you notice, your guy will start moving automatically in the game. Everyone should do this step when they open X360C. Go to the tab, whichever controller it is that says Xbox 360 Receiver for Windows. Go to Presets, click Clear, and hit Load and then Save. What this will do is it'll make sure that your Xbox 360 controller, in other words, because it works out of the box in Grand Theft Auto 4, doesn't get fucked up because you're turning off direct input. Because it works from a different input. It's called X input. X input is not direct input. It's two different things. So what you want to do here is you definitely want to just pretty much hit clear and save. And this will still be green. It'll still be on. And it should say pass through. Make sure you guys have this checked out. Pass through. What this means is this program will, and none of its settings will affect your gamepad. So this will prevent your character from walking automatically, doing a lot of crazy shit, just because you don't need it. You don't need an Xbox 360 controller emulator to emulate a controller you already have. Now, if you have a PS3 controller, you guys can feel free to set it up on this program. Okay, yes, you can use this program to set up a PS3 controller like an Xbox 360 controller and use a PS3 controller like I do. I actually use a PS3 controller, but it shows as an Xbox 360 controller for Windows because I have another program. It's called Motion Enjoy. What that does is it makes your PS3 controller look like a 360 controller so that this Xbox 360 controller emulator can read a PS3 controller. You need PS3 drivers to be recognized as a PS3 controller on Windows. Now, basically, you have all these settings. And I'm going to assume you have an Xbox 360 controller. If you have a PS3 controller, still do pass-through. Because the PS3 controller, if you use Motion Enjoy, which is the only thing you can use on Windows to get a PS3 controller working right now, with Rumble, it should automatically do PS3 controller settings for you, and it'll make it look like an Xbox. So if you have a PS3 controller, you have an Xbox controller. Hit pass through, and you're done. Make sure these are all clear and hit save. Next up, you want to go to controller 2. Now, this is your Logitech G27 wheel. And these are the settings right out of the box. I think what I will do is, if I can do it, I don't know if it allows me to save settings. I think it might from the settings database. But Yeah, it actually does let me save it, but I'm not sure where exactly. Let me just see something. Okay, let me just go ahead and hit refresh. Did it save any? Okay, so it didn't save my settings. Doesn't matter. Um, so at the end of the day, what you guys really want to do is basically settings ID, global settings. Apparently there are some global settings here that you guys can use. It's up to you. There seem to be other people's settings, but 97093F5B is for my Xbox 361, and this is for Michael's G27. I'll save this in there too. And what this will do is it'll probably save my thing onto the database, but if not, doesn't matter. All I want to show you guys is that basically you want to you guys basically want to go on a controller too and use my settings if you have G27. If you don't, the goal is to emulate your 360 controller. So start hitting this and record and hit the corresponding button. So trigger left if you press Xbox 360, it actually hits the brake on GTA 4. So hit the brake pedal. Bumper button 6 is the left one. It's all up to you what you guys want to make your controller pads be. As you can see, D-pad left and right is button 21 and 20, and then the acceleration is the acceleration pedal. And that's the way I have my game set up. I also, so that's it. Okay, once you save this, what you want to do is exit out of the program. It may freeze, don't panic. You have to actually force close it. It's very common. Don't worry about it. This will freeze and it'll force close. You want to copy X360CE and X input 1_3 straight into GTA 4. That's all you want to do, straight in, and then it will copy itself right there. Now, your wheel will mimic a 360 controller only if you have direct input off from your settings. If you don't, then it's just going to use whatever setting Rockstar decided. But the good news is even if you do it this way and you have direct input is activated, your dead zone will be gone from the game. It will be gone because the X input gets mixed with the direct input and it takes away your dead zone. Speaking of dead zone, I totally went overboard with this, but you guys have to make sure, this is very necessary, that you have what's called the anti-dead zone. Okay, under the program settings, you can do anti-dead zone 80%, or you could leave it and it'll still take away most of the dead zone. That's up to you guys. However, it seems from my configuration file, there is no anti-dead zone, and it works beautifully because it does take it away regardless. Now, with that being done, you guys have your thing done. Another mod I like to use is Indicator Mod. Okay, with Indicator Mod, you download it. The link is in the description, and there's a file called scripthook.net.asi. You drag this into your main directory. Then under scripts, you have indicator.ini and indicator.net. I also program these to my wheel, but indicator.ini only works off of keyboard settings. So N, M, UI, these are all keyboard keys. That's why we're going to have to use another program. It's called Xpatter. What Xpatter does is, as you can see, that's my Logitech wheel. It allows your controller not to mimic an Xbox controller, but to mimic keyboard strokes. So if I say, oh, well, I want my left one being N and my right one being M, these two, you see these red buttons. If I actually went to settings and you see those red buttons, that's my N and that's my M. You set it up, you press your buttons, it shows these two squares, you drag it over the picture, then on it you click these buttons and it'll bring up a keyboard, and then you save it and then you close. Save it like this with that blue key right there, and you exit. XPatter is always running. You guys see that XPatter is running. So now you have an indicator mod. You have a controller, a PS3 controller, maybe a 360 controller working with the wheel. No force feedback support, unfortunately, but it doesn't matter. The game is freaking awesome. And you have an amazing Grand Theft Auto 4 working with the wheel, the G27, G25, any wheel, emulating a 360 controller pattern. And you can also set your wheel rotation to 900. And this way it really feels like you're driving a real car, but it's very hard to control in game, just because of the one-way lanes in New York City. So that's been how you basically set it up. You should have, summary is, you should have advancedhook.dll and scripthook.net.asi from the indicator package along with these two files under scripts. You should have scripthook.dll and also your ASI loader, which is dsound, and you should have ENB series D3, D9 from Vucko, all installed, along with x360ce.ini and xinput1_3.dll. You should have all of these in there. And all of these will combine together to remove the dead zone, to make your wheel function like a real car's wheel, to make your game look beautiful, and lastly, to get your game set up to use any mod whatsoever under planet freaking Earth at this point. Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming out soon, and I look forward to sharing more details with you guys as well. Okay, so that's going to do it for me. Take care, guys.